I just got three things to say. God bless our troops, God bless America, and gentlemen, start your engine!
Welcome to the Stire Sound podcast with your hosts, Trey, Stire, and Jack Noel.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 25 of the Stire Sound. We are back post San Diego Supercross, and 2 for 2 now. Eli Tomac aboard his Red Bull KTM. He is on fire to start the year. Some say a perfect season could be incoming. Most of those people are probably delusional. But hey, there's a chance. He's 2 for 2 so far. What a start to the year. Fantastic main event in the 450 class. Then in the 250 West Division, Hayden Deegan, your defending champion, back on top. A little bit of a controversial pass, but nothing new from Danger Boy. Welcome back to the Stire Sound. I am Trey Stire, your host. Thank you for listening. Whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeart Radio, we don't care where you're at. We just care that you're listening, and we appreciate you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for tuning in. We're just going to hop right into things. Of course, San Diego Supercross, our main topic of conversation. We will wrap that up, give our takes and our opinions from that round, and then we will hop into some injury news, and of course we will predict our podiums for Anaheim too, which we've been doing pretty terrible on our podium predictions, so maybe we can start turning it around this week. But joining me as always from the Dirt Bike Depot, Dirt Legal WMR KTM team, Jack Noel. 2 races in. It's been a really fun season so far, shaping up really well. San Diego, another fun night of racing. Should be a fun year. Now Anaheim too, coming right up.
Yeah, San Diego definitely delivered. I think it was a super good night of racing in the main events. The heat races in the 250 class were kind of snooze fest in my opinion, but the main event was pretty good. Watching Levi come to the pack and the battle for second, the battle for first for what we had of it was good. And the 450 race really was really good. So bummer to see Chase hit the gate like that. I think he'd have been up there with those top 3 guys if he didn't do that. I think his speed was definitely better than it was at Anaheim 1. So the races this weekend were very good. I mean, Hunter Lawrence looked unbelievable. He looked like he can definitely compete for some wins this year and potentially this title. I mean, it's something that cannot be too far out of the question for a guy like him. And Tomac looked good as always. Ken Roxon looked good as well. And I'm just hoping to see Cooper Webb return to form here as soon as possible.
More on Hunter Lawrence later in the show. We'll discuss that a bit more in detail. But starting with the 450 class, to begin the day, some issues in qualifying. First session really didn't have a clear winner. They interviewed Eli Tomac on the broadcast, and then in Q2 he goes out, stamps it up on the board. Eli Tomac, fastest qualifier. Unfortunately, we had a couple guys go down, and we'll mention it later in our injury report and wrap up. But going into the heat races, Chase Sexton, not a great start in his heat race, but he worked through the pack, got around Joey Savacci, got around Jason Anderson, and then eventually around Jorge Prado, who he essentially swapped rides with for the victory. And of course, Chase was on that beautiful retro 2001 Ricky Carmichael throwback kit. Early front runner for Kid of the Year, I think. Of course, we had our Kitted and Fitted award in the year-end 2025 awards. Definitely something to consider for the 2026 year-end awards. Heat number 2 was the Ken Roxon show, man. He was dominant in that race. He got out front, and he pulled away from everybody. Of course, Ken Roxon, one of the best heat race riders of all time, probably. He just got out front and was cruising out there. Main event time, as you mentioned, Chase Sexton, unfortunately, a little bit of deja vu from Detroit last year. Flinches, hits the gate, started in the back. Unfortunate for him after showing so much speed, riding through the pack in the heat race. But up front, Hunter Lawrence with the whole shot. Eli Tomac was right there. Ken Roxon was right there. Hunter held the lead for the first couple laps. Then Kenny got around him. Eli got around him. And it looked like, well, it's going to be a Kenny versus Eli show. And they swapped the lead a couple times. Kenny had it. Eli got him, Kenny got him right back, and it took Eli a few minutes, but he got back up there, took some time, and then ended up taking the lead, what would end up being for good. But as Kenny seemed like he was trying to regroup and trying to find a way back toward Eli, all of a sudden Hunter Lawrence shoots past Ken Roczen and starts clawing after Tomac. And 2 laps to go, Hunter Lawrence was getting close. Final lap, Hunter goes for a move in one of the bowl corners, but is smart about it, backs it out. He would have absolutely clobbered Tomac and probably taken himself down since he was so far behind. But Hunter Lawrence made things really interesting. All in all, though, Eli Tomac, second win at San Diego in a row, his 55th career win, once again just extending that mark of second all-time. And now he's only 18 away from passing Jeremy McGrath. Food for thought. Eli Tomac, what a performance. Hunter Lawrence, P2. As I mentioned, we'll get into Hunter Lawrence a little more. What a performance from him. His third career 450 Supercross podium. Of course, missed most of last season. And then Ken Roczen in third. Solid ride for Kickstart Kenny. But even though he's looked amazing these first couple weeks, he's still lost points to Eli Tomac. 8 to be exact. But moving on through the pack, Chase Sexton was fourth. A nice recovery ride from him, considering he hit the gate and started way behind everybody. Fifth place, I want to give an attaboy to Joey Savacci. What a ride from Joey. I think one of the best of his 450 Supercross career. Of course, he's had some really solid rides in these off-season races, whether it was World Supercross this year, Australian Supercross last year. Joey started up front, started fourth, and Chase is really the only guy that got around him. What a solid ride from Joey. And then, as you mentioned, Cooper Webb still not getting it going. Of course, he's not usually great in these early California rounds, but he hasn't even been really close to the podium yet. Interesting to see, and Justin Cooper also not really close to the podium. Both Star Yamaha guys probably scratching their heads a little bit. Jorge Prado, not a great start this weekend, faded back a little bit. He seemed pretty positive in his interview with TransWorld Motocross after the racing was all said and done, but he said, man, I just struggle being in the middle of the pack and trying to work my way forward with his lack of Supercross experience. But overall on the night, another win from Eli Tomac. Hunter Lawrence, I think, was the breakout star of the night. We talked in the preview show. You were more inclined to have him as a championship contender. I wasn't sold yet, and I'm still not exactly sold on him being a championship contender. But after seeing the race in San Diego, I'm absolutely sold on the fact that Hunter could get his first career 450 Supercross win this year. What a performance from him. Of course, Eli Tomac as well. Ken Roczen keeping his form up there on the podium. A very fun 450 main event, and Eli Tomac looks really, really dangerous. 2 for 2 so far, and 3 for 4 if you count his World Supercross starts on a KTM.
Yeah, no, Tomac, really, really solid ride from Tomac. I don't think it was anything super out of the ordinary, but I don't think it was a easy ride at any means. But I really am impressed with Hunter Lawrence. I kind of was a little bit surprised that he didn't show more fight in the beginning of the race. But I think with knowing how Ken Roczen, the first 5 to 10 minutes of any race is going to be borderline the fastest guy on the track. Tomac is he kind of has like sometimes his races are a little bit different. Sometimes he's really strong at the end. Sometimes he's, strong at the beginning, weak in the middle, strong at the end. Sometimes it's like a slow burn build up for him, which I think this kind of race was for him. He kind of got faster as the race came on and then kind of fell off the pace in the last couple laps, which maybe allowed Hunter to reel him in. But no, yeah, I really think that Hunter Lawrence was absolutely flying. I mean, the last 2 laps, you just saw something like just him look different almost compared to like how he looked the entire rest of the race. All of a sudden, you see him scrubbing jumps and getting the power to the ground early, and it's just he's gaining time on Tomac visibly to everybody. I think everybody saw like Hunter's coming, dude. Like Tomac needs to pick it up, and then of course right there after the over/under, he kind of shoves his nose in there, and Tomac sees him. He's like, "Oh shoot! Like I don't know what I'm going to do here." I think if Hunter doesn't pull the trigger, like he said on the podium, that's the next coming. He ate that one up. I thought it was pretty funny. He pulled the trigger a little too early, maybe. And I think if he would have waited for either the corner after that the 5-stack or the bull corner after that longer rhythm section, I think he would have found himself potentially winning the main event. I really do. So I'm bummed that he couldn't get it done because I think that was probably a really good opportunity because I look at Hunter and I think I don't question his fitness. I don't question his ability really. I just question like the racecraft and the raw speed when it comes to like needing the raw speed. His racecraft is the reason he didn't win that main event last night. I think personally, I don't think he's been in enough situations to really have to fight for the lead ever in his career, including outdoors or even Supercross or whatever it is. He just seemed to be struggling and obviously showed a lack of experience in that moment. But I think he can only learn from that race and can bring it into next weekend and be only better. And I think for me, that's what I was looking at the beginning of the year was he's got the talent, he's got the stamina. If he can stay healthy, he can stay in this fight for 17 rounds, be inside the top 5 consistently. He'll be right there at the end. And if he can click off a couple wins, now he's really going to be in it. So I'm interested to see how he does the rest of the year, especially next weekend after such a good weekend, and see if he can build on the momentum he seemed to be, gathering. But within like a guy like Ken Roczen, we got to keep the momentum rolling. We got to get a win here soon, I think, for him to kind of put his stamp on the title. Otherwise, it could be like years past where Ken Roczen's really good for the first couple rounds. Then all of a sudden, Ken Roczen has a bad few races and takes him a minute to get going. That to me is a thing to look at. I think Chase is going to be okay. I think Chase had an off A1, which is okay. I think he rode fine in San Diego. I think it's a bummer he couldn't have done better, but 4th place from where he came from. I mean, we all saw him; he was dead last, so you can't be upset with that. And then my biggest thing is, Trey, I'm going to ask you this: is it panic time for a guy like Cooper Webb, who did get some help from a guy like Chase Sexton, which I'm not going to really bring that up too much because I don't think it was that dirty, but it was a racing incident in my head. But I don't know. I was just very curious to hear what you have to think about a guy like Cooper Webb, who I think is. You look at the results on paper from San Diego the last 5 years, he's been really good there. So I don't know, like a 10th place there. I'm kind of worried. I mean, he didn't have a great A1. He got like 7th. So, but he has been on the ground both those races. I'm sure a race where he's on 2 wheels the whole time, I think the results may be a little bit different. But is it panic time if you're a Cooper Webb?
You have a good point about Hunter Lawrence. I'll throw in about the racecraft there. Obviously, when he's out front, usually in the 450 class, it seems like he gets the whole shot and just takes control of the race. Plus, he doesn't have that wealth of Supercross. I mean, you think about how much experience Eli Tomac and Ken Roczen have. They've been in the 450 class over a decade, competing at the highest level, from going to racing against guys like Chad Reed, James Stewart, Ryan Dungey, all those guys to the current generation. But Cooper Webb, in my opinion, of course, it's very strange to see him on the ground. Usually he's either up front battling for the win or he's just kind of quietly in like 5th to 6th range. This time, seeing him hit the ground, have a couple uncharacteristic mistakes at A1, and then I don't think the chase incident was dirty either. Seemed like a racing deal. Once again, we've talked about in the past with a certain rider we'll talk about a little bit later in the 250 division. When it's an isolated incident, it's way easier to go, oh, that's a racing incident. But when it's repeated, it becomes a pattern and you become scrutinized from it. I think for Cooper Webb, if he's not on the podium this weekend, it's definitely panic button time. And I say this weekend because 2 bad finishes to start the year is not ideal. But we know, of course you said, San Diego is usually a solid round for him. But usually Cooper Webb not the best at Anaheim. And of course we've mentioned Anaheim won. He's had a couple podiums there, but other than that, nothing to write home about really. It doesn't seem like until we get to that like Glendale, that round 4, 5, 6 area where Webb really starts to come into his own. But with the 7th and 10th or wherever he's finished these past couple races, it's not looking good. When you have Eli going 1-1, Kenny goes 2-3, and I get Chase goes 8-4, so not an ideal start, but still gaining points on Cooper. He's not in a great position, but if he is outside of the podium this weekend, I think it's definitely panic button time. And of course, I mentioned during our preview show, odd year Cooper Webb seems inevitable. Even year Cooper Webb has had good years, but this year doesn't really seem like one of them. He's a 3-time champion, but he's never successfully defended that title. We'll see if he's able to step it up, but I think a lot of it comes from this weekend. If he's able to show fight, be up on the podium, he's going to be right back in the mix. Just give him a couple weeks to get the ball rolling again. But if he's in 5th or 6th place at the end of Saturday night, I would be hitting the panic button, honestly. Hard to tell for sure with Cooper Webb yet. Chase Sexton, I think, could be poised to start getting closer. He's had a couple bad rounds. He's looking good, I think. This weekend could be a big chance for him to get back on the top step of the podium. And then some other guys trying to look through and think through. Dylan Ferrandis, 2 top 10s on the Ducati. Shout out to him. I know that doesn't jump off the page, but still solid nonetheless. Jason Anderson went down a little bit in that main event. Was looking solid through the heat race and stuff. Jason, I think, could be up front and could be a surprise podium contender in the next couple rounds if he's able to put things together. But moving on to the 250 class, Hayden Deegan, another win, 8th career win in 250 Supercross. A little bit of contact with teammate Max Anstey. On the Deegan scale, that's probably like a 3 out of 10, but this is, I think, the 3rd time he's taken out a teammate, so a lot of people not happy with that. I think he could have easily just rolled past Max Anstey and blew him away on speed, and I think that's the big frustrating part. He doesn't need to take these people out. He could pass them on straight-up speed, but who he is, he's got to go up there, make contact, make things controversial, then post TikToks with his, old aura maxing or whatever he called it with his, I don't even know what he does. I'm not a big TikTok guy, but, looking like the slight saggy pants and stuff, trying to look like all of these fake gangster kids I went to high school with. But Hayden Deegan, another win. Cameron McAdoo on the podium, P2. A great rebound from him after a disappointing start at A1 from his crash. And then Michael Mosman in 3rd. I think he's been the quietest guy of the Factory 250 racers. We've talked about all of the others a lot more than Michael, and he goes out and gets a P3. Not bad. Max Anstey slips down the order a bit to 5th. Levi Kitchen also made a pretty aggressive pass on him. It was another race, another time for Levi Kitchen to have to work his way through the pack from dead last after a first turn crash. But he gets up to 4th. He was riding better, but I said San Diego was a must-win for Levi Kitchen. I think realistically, even though it's only a 1-point buffer, I know Jack is still convinced Max Anstey is going to win the championship, but Deegan's back on top. Deegan's in that mode, and I just don't think anybody's going to mess with him. He is the aggressor, and it seems like people are scared and worried to take people out. I don't remember a single instance of Max Anstey ever riding aggressive and trying to take somebody out, so I don't think Max is going to be able to play those games with Hayden. I think he is poised to deal with it a little bit better than some, but I still don't think any of these guys in the 250 class are really going to rough up Hayden, because everybody who's dealt with him in aggressive riding have been like, I'm going to get him or I'm going to show him, and then nothing happens. So we'll see what transpires in the 250 class. Chance Hymas also, I'll shout out to him. He went for a wild ride, probably the save of the year contender already. I mean, for him to be bouncing all over the place and to reel that thing in, I know 6th place, not what he wanted finish-wise probably, but man, what a wild ride. He looked like he was one of those rodeo guys out there getting thrown around. The 250 main event, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Hayden Deegan back on top. You said it was a must-win for Hayden when I said it was a must-win for Levi. Now he is back with the red plate, 1-point lead going into Anaheim. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the 250 main event and Hayden Deegan getting back to the number 1 position.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, a must-win for Hayden, and he got it done. So for him, he puts himself in the driver's seat. Obviously, the way he went about the whole pass, I actually do believe him when I say he doesn't necessarily mean it to take him out. I think he meant to really hold him up, but I don't know, I look at the way that he rides and plays defense and stuff like that. He thinks that everybody's trying to cut under him and trying to do get back moves like he would do if he was in the situation. Like, I think of it like that. Like, what would he be doing if somebody was coming up the inside of him? He'd be trying to get back underneath him and go past him, which I completely understand. So, like, I don't know, like, the way that he rides, like, a guy like Max, like, I don't know if you remember, but, like, World Supercross, Joey was like, dude, go. Like, go forward. Quit trying to toy with us. Like, I'm letting you go. Like, go. Like, Max is basically, like, willing to, like, wave the white flag. Like, look, man, you're faster than I am today. Like, you go ahead and you win. Like, I'm not gonna fight you. Like, you have it and I don't today. Which I think is a veteran move. Like, a lot of guys in the 450 class have to do that more than other guys. But then the 250 class, you have a lot of guys that like to roadblock and do whatever and come back and forth. And I get it. It's for the lead, so you would expect Max to put up more of a fight. But I think Max is smart in playing the championship game. Unfortunately, he got taken down, which I think hurt his odds of. It hurts because he loses the red plate. And I think holding the red plate in this class is very important because it seems like something that's going to be hard to obtain. So, like, that's where now I look at it like this. Like, Deegan now puts himself in the driver's seat with Max having such a poor result as a fifth, which it really isn't that bad. But do you see Deegan finishing outside the top 5 ever in this class? And I'm thinking, absolutely not. There's no way. There's only 7 factory guys on the gate right now. So that's just my whole thing with it. Like, I'm very much am like, good for Deegan, good that he won because it puts him in the driver's seat. I think Levi's the only one in my opinion that can, like, if it was like Max in Levi's shoes right now, I don't think Max can come back and take the title from him. But Levi, I think, can. I think Levi can actually beat him straight up if they're on, like, both on their best days. Where Max, I don't know if he can. I don't know. I think Max will still be in the fight. Like, I think Max is best. If everybody's on their best that day, I think Max is the third best rider. So, I don't know. Yeah, but that's just my whole thought thing with it is Deegan put himself in the driver's seat, like what he needed to do. Levi's still close enough to where he can still make something happen. So it's not like it's 22 points he's gone down. So, but yeah, no, I think come Houston, which is at the end of this month, I believe, which is in 2 weeks, 2 weekends. After Houston, we'll see kind of where things stack up, and I think from there we'll kind of have more of an idea of who's going to be able to compete for this title. But I will say this. I don't know if we're bringing this up at all this week, but my complaint box of the week is the lack of factory riders in the 250 West class. 7. That's it. I think that's pretty sad.
Good point.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. But I think it's still, like, hard to win. Like, it's not easy to anybody to win, but, like, it's still, like, sad to see that many guys. Because it just sucks because if, like, Deegan goes down in the first corner like Levi did, like, it's not super hard to move up to 4th. Like, the depth just isn't that, like, big. And where, like, on the East Coast, I think it'll be a little bit different. But, yeah, man, that's what I have to think about the 2B class. I think it was kind of a boring race other than Levi coming to the pack and then the whole Max Anstey and Deegan thing. But I don't know. As long as Deegan can keep his head on straight and not be a bonehead, I think he'll be okay. But it's the stupid stuff like that makes people not like him, and people like him, I guess. But I don't know. Like, I think the guy just needs to mature and realize, like, look, I'm not. Why are you scared of anybody in this class? Because that's how. When you ride like that, that's what to me, that's what you give off is that you're scared that he's going to come back and try to punt you or something like that. Like, to me, that's just what I think of it like. So I don't understand why he would be scared of anybody, being that he's the defending champion. And I don't know, that's just what I think is if you ride that way that he did against Max, is you're scared of something and you're trying to do something about it, which he did, I guess. If that was what he was trying to do, he did what he was trying to do. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see A2. I think that'll give me more of a, like, okay, whoever does good at A2, like, I think he's going to win the title, and we'll go from there.
If you didn't bring it up, I was going to mention the whole Joey Savacci World Supercross thing from Gold Coast because he never really roughed up anyone in that 450 class, his 2 wildcard races, and still, like, every single section, it seemed like he was looking over his shoulder, which was really strange to see from somebody that you would think could just ride away, put his head down and charge. But the championship fight, as far as it goes, yes, Max is still in it right now, but I just feel like my prediction at the beginning of the season was that Deegan was probably going to run away from things. And usually, if you give him an ounce of confidence, he's going to take a pound or two. You know what I mean? When he's confident, when he's feeling it, he's almost unstoppable in this division. But you talk about the factory guys with the complaint box. I didn't personally have a complaint box this week, but you have a valid point. But I'm thinking about the East Coast region. There's only 9 factory guys there. If Joe doesn't come back, and with Juju being injured, there's only 9 factory guys over there. I know it's a couple more, but still, when you look through things, seems like a little less than normal. Of course, Gas went away this year, so that's probably part of it. We don't have a 250 program for Ducati or Beta. It'll be interesting to see if the depth is a little better over there, and I think we'll have other solid guys. Of course, you'll have like Cody Schock, Cullen Park over there to round things out a little more. But a very interesting point there. It is weird seeing only 7 factory guys, kind of like that. Not to the extreme, but of course, remember the end of the 2023 450 Supercross season when everybody's hurt, and it was like Chase, Kenny, AC, AP, and those were like the only factory guys left, which was really strange to see. You had like Justin Starling and Kevin Moran's battling for top 10, and those guys are legit Supercross racers, don't get me wrong, but usually on their best night, they are in the like 16 to 20 range, and those guys were battling for top 10s because it was so sparse out there. But moving on now to a little bit of an injury roundup, just to update folks, I believe we'll see Austin Forkner, Garrett Marchbanks back this weekend in Anaheim. Forkner more of a precautionary thing, I think, keeping him out of action after his tumble in qualifying. Garrett Marchbanks was a test track crash, but hopefully we can see Marchbanks back this weekend. As far as some of the other guys, Beta, I believe both guys with broken wrists might be the diagnosis. I haven't seen the official diagnosis for Mitchell Oldenburg yet, but I know Benny's dealing with a broken wrist. Mitchell is hurt. It is some kind of wrist or arm injury, and it seems like Beta, as of right now, is riderless, although I have heard from a pretty solid source that there could be somebody on Beta filling in, possibly Anthony Rodriguez. I've heard that A-Rod could have possibly been testing the bike recently. So we'll see. Bummer for Beta to lose both guys so early. Then you look a little bit further with injuries. Privateers of the 450 class, unfortunately, Logan Carnow broke his collarbone. Broke a couple ribs, I think. Unfortunate for him. Best wishes to Logan. Jack Chambers in the 250 class has a broken wrist. He's out of action for a little bit. Then we look at Justin Hill in the 450 class. And Justin is racing. He's still going to be competing. But he said that he's been racing with some torn rib cartilage. So definitely messing with Justin a little bit. He's been 14th the first 2 main events. Nothing crazy, but hey, he's still putting it in the main event and still getting top 15 finishes. But just wanted to run down a little bit of the injury news. Jordan Smith should be back when the East Coast starts. It'll be interesting to see if they keep Forkner on the 450 or they send him back down. I anticipate that they would go with the original plan and put him in the 250 East Supercross class. But we'll see if he's fully healthy and ready to go for this weekend. Before that, just a few injury notes I wanted to pass along to our listeners. Hopefully everybody can stay healthy this weekend in Anaheim too, but we know how the sport is. Sometimes things don't go according to plan. In terms of our podium predictions from last week, once again, it was not a kind week for us. We did not do really well. I took the lead from Jack. I think I'm 5 points up, but out of a possible 100 points so far, I'm pretty sure I'm leading with 30 or 25, something like that. We are not performing well in our podium predictions, but hey, we might as well go ahead and hop into this. Of course, we've wrapped up our San Diego recap. Maybe a little bit of a shorter show this week, but we've run through everything. I wasn't at the track this week. I won't be back at the track for a few weeks, I don't think. We were watching, of course, at home on the Peacock broadcast. Now, Anaheim 2 podium predictions. I'm going to start out with the 250 class because it was what we were just talking about and mentioning. I'm going to go Hayden Deegan for the win. Why bet against the guy? I think Hayden gets the job done at Anaheim 2 again. I think Levi Kitchen is going to be second. I think maybe he doesn't fall on the first corner this week. That would be ideal for him at least. But I think Hayden's going to get a better start than he has been getting and then just kind of run away with things. And in third place, I thought about going Max Anstey. I thought about going Chance Hymas or Cameron McAdoo, but I think we're going to have a little bit of a surprise, even though it's not going to be a surprise to me. I'm going to put Maximus Voland in third on the Club MX Yamaha. He looked really good in San Diego. He was looking good on speed, won his heat race, started in the top 5. He did tip over early and have to fall back a little bit and work his way through the field. But Maximus Voland, he looks good. Watching him in Anaheim, even though it wasn't his best race, he just looked comfy on that bike. And I think at some point this year he's going to get a podium. And why not at Anaheim too? Why not at Angel Stadium? So I'm going to throw Maximus Voland into third. And for our random spot this week, it's fourth. So the first time in our short history with the random spot, it's right there off the podium. I'll go Max Anstey for fourth for my random spot. So my podium, Deegan, Kitchen, Voland, I think, with a surprise podium this weekend for some, and then Max Anstey right there in fourth.
Solid. I'm going to go 250. 250 winner, I'm going to go Levi Kitchen. I think Levi has to get it done this weekend. I think he knows that. I think it's a must-win for Levi Kitchen. If he wants any chance to stay in this, I think Levi gets it done. I think we will see Michael Mosman in second this weekend. I think we'll see Hayden Deegan in third. I think Deegan and Max Anstey are going to have some fits back in the pack. I think Anstey will be our fourth-place finisher this weekend. It's going to be similar to last weekend, I think, with like the top 4. Who was second last weekend?
McAdoo.
Hymas again? Oh, McAdoo. Shoot, McAdoo was second. I forgot about him. But no, I think McAdoo still guys in the top 4. McAdoo got lucky. I'm just kidding. But no, I think it'll be Levi Mosman, Deegan, and then Anstey for fourth. So yeah, that's my pick for this weekend. I think that's pretty reasonable.
I agree. Interesting to see Mosman P2. You did have a solid ride at San Diego, and you can't really count him out. Like I said, he's been the guy we've talked about the least in terms of the factory guys in the 250 West Division. 450 picks for me. I alluded to potentially picking Chase Sexton earlier, but I'm not. I want to go Eli Tomac. He's 2 for 2. Why not go 3 for 3 on the number 3? I don't know if he's going to get it done for sure this weekend, but I think I'd be silly to pick against him after picking against him the first 2 weeks and saying he wasn't a championship contender in our preview episode. So I'm going to go Eli Tomac for the win. I do have Chase in P2. I think he's going to be up there in the mix. Hopefully a pretty uneventful weekend for Chase. That's what he needs right now. And then in third, I think I'm going to put Kenny P3 again. Kenny's on a really good form early, but I do agree with your point from earlier in the show. If he doesn't get that win soon, it might be trouble for him in terms of the championship race. Like, yes, he's hanging in there right now, but he's got to win either this weekend or Houston, but I just don't see him getting it done this weekend. And then fourth place, I'm going to go Hunter Lawrence. I think Hunter has a good weekend, just not quite on the level of his San Diego performance. I think we could see Hunter potentially win a heat race, but then in the main event, I think Eli and Chase get good starts and just kind of break away from everybody. They battle a little bit, but Eli gets the best of things, and Hunter takes a solid P4. And I think another thing we alluded to earlier, I think it might be panic button time for Cooper Webb based on my predictions. Like I said, if he doesn't get on the podium this week, I would sound the alarm. My predictions for Anaheim 2, Tomac, Sexton, Roczen Podium with Hunter Lawrence right there in P4.
Very, very, very similar to my podium. We have the same 4 riders, just different order. I have Chase winning. I think Chase gets it done this weekend. I think Chase, if he doesn't hit the gate in San Diego, I think he wins. I think Chase gets it done. I think he's got it figured out. I think he's the Blues are away. He figures it out, gets his first win aboard the Kawasaki. I think Hunter Lawrence gets second this weekend, and here's why. Tomac ain't starting up front like he has last couple rounds. I think Tomac has a dig this weekend. He has to come through the pack. But I think Tomac gets up to third. Fourth place, I have Ken Roczen. I think no matter what scenario we put Tomac in, I think he's going to get the better of Ken Roczen, especially if he's right behind him at the end of the race. And I think Tomac's going to get third, and I think Ken Roczen's going to get fourth. So that's my pick for the weekend. I think that's solid. I think Hunter Lawrence will ride an uneventful second-place race while Chase Sexton checks out with no pressure from Ken Roczen or Eli Tomac.
A little bit of a shorter episode this week, but I think we've also covered all our bases. We talked about Hunter Lawrence potentially being in this fight, Cooper Webb panic button time, talked about Deegan and all of that stuff in the 250 class, covered some injury news. I feel like we've covered all our bases, so thanks for listening, folks. We appreciate you turning in. Before I officially conclude, I'll throw it back over to you, Jack. Any last thoughts or topics before we conclude? Anything?
I have one question. I have one question for you. What do you think? This is just I'm gonna give two riders here. I want you to think what their ceiling is for the rest of the year.
Okay.
And like two riders had good first weekends and had bad, say, second weekends. Like
Gotcha.
a guy like Jorge Prado. Do you think Jorge Prado's Anaheim 1 was a fluke, or do you think that's something that he can sustain? Same thing with Ryder DiFrancesco, who has shown he can be a top 5 guy, but can you think he can be a consistent podium guy?
For Jorge, I think it is really start dependent for him, and especially listening to some of his thoughts after the race. If Jorge starts up front and gets in the mix early, I could see him getting a few more podiums. I don't think he's going to necessarily be a weekly podium guy, but it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him have, say, 4 to 5 podiums in 17 rounds. But like I mentioned, I think it's very start dependent for him. He just doesn't have as much experience on Supercross, so he's not really able to work his way through the pack. And he even alluded in that interview post-race that he was like, it really took me until the last couple years of GPs to figure out how to really work his way through the pack properly. So I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to figure out that racecraft and figure out those things, those little nuances like picking up on different lines or different rhythms to get around guys if he starts mid-pack. But with his confidence level and the way his starting ability usually is, I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see him up around the podium. I just don't think he's necessarily going to have that holy crap blow you away level of riding that he had at Anaheim throughout the rest of the season. I think if we go a little bit later in the year, the field thins out slightly, not a ton, but slightly. I think he'll be in the podium fight a little more. Then for Ryder D, unfortunately, yeah, I think it was a fluke. I feel like after Anaheim 1, you have to go up and answer immediately, and he was 7th out of 7 factory guys in San Diego. I think he could potentially get another podium or two, but I don't see this being an every race thing. He was fast in qualifying again, but he also was getting kind of mediocre starts. Once again, I feel like so much is start dependent in the sport. You don't really have as many guys that can run through the pack, especially in the 250 class. Only really Deegan, Kitchen, and maybe Max Anstey I could see as guys that could just work through the pack and carve through the field. But I don't think Ryder D is going to be able to sustain that level of success compared to Prado. I think Prado's will be a bit more sustained. Like I said, I don't think he's going to be a weekly podium threat, but if you give him a good start, he should be in that fight, and I could see him getting multiple podiums throughout the rest of the year. Ryder D, though, I just don't know. I'm still not confident. He had a good ride. If he would have stayed up there and maybe won at Anaheim, I would be inclined to say something different, but I'm just not convinced as of right now that he has changed and is morphed into a weekly podium guy. What are your thoughts on it, Jack? Are you sold on either of these guys being podium threats, or do you think it's just flukes from Anaheim 1 as well?
I wouldn't say they're flukes. Like, I would say Ryder D has the speed to be a podium guy. And I think that's the true testament of a champion is how well can you move your way through a pack. Like, I really do think that's a big, like, deciding factor. Like, look, if you're a top 5 guy consistently, and if you start in 15th, can you be a top 5 guy? Still, if you start in 15th, have to pass a bunch of other solidified top 10 guys, because that's my thing, right? Like, I think, like, you look at, like, Chase's ride in San Diego, you look at a guy like Kitchen's ride in San Diego, both of those rides were they had to pass a bunch of dudes, and they did. They got to 4th. Like, that's a solid ride. But, like, you put a guy like Michael Mosman in 15th, I don't think Michael Mosman's going to get up to get up to 5th or up to 4th. I just want to see it happening. But if Michael Mosiman starts up front, I think he can hold the pace up front. So I think it's the same for Ryder D. I think it comes with time, learning how to race for both of those guys, how to successfully work their way through a pack. But I think Ryder D is less of a fluke than Jorge Prado. I think Jorge Prado, who also has been qualifying well this year, I think if Jorge Prado gets a start, I think if you have a Chase Sexton who's on, and if you have a Hunter Lawrence and Jason Innocent who aren't battling the way that they are, I think it's a different story. Because I just look at the scenario for Ryder D, it's like he had Deegan chasing him the last couple of laps, and he held him off. Like, that's pretty darn good. So, I don't know, like, with Prado, like, he had Anderson and Hunter Lawrence, who hate each other. They've both admittedly said that to each other, basically. They don't like each other. They're battling, and they're going tooth and nail for 4th place, while you're just cruising in 3rd. So, and then he only beat Hunter by a few bike lengths or a couple tenths or whatever, or a couple seconds, whatever it was. So I look at Ryder D's ride, I look at it as a little bit better. He led half the race comfortably, and then, or not, maybe not half, but he led most of the race, like a couple laps, 5 minutes in a race, whatever it was. But like Jorge Prado, even in his heat race, got a little bit lucky, in my opinion, with the whole Cooper Webb, Aaron Plester incident. So I don't know. I look at there's just multiple ways to look at it, in my opinion. But I think Ryder D has more of a chance to be a consistent podium guy than a guy like Jorge Prado does in right now. Like, maybe later on down the line, if Prado's healthy and the field is dwindled, I think then we can see a Prado on the podium. But I think if Ryder D can start inside the top 5, I think he could pass his way into 3rd potentially. That's my thoughts on it. Just wanted to know what you thought on those two guys, because they both had mediocre weekends this weekend after what some would say is career high weekends in Anaheim.
I like it. A little bit of agreeing to disagree for once. Usually we're pretty even on just about everything, but it'll be interesting to see if we're right, if we're wrong on those. Thanks for bringing that up as well. It's a great way to conclude a little bit of a debate at the end of the show, but this has been episode number 25 of the Stire Sound, wrapping up the San Diego Supercross. Thank you, Jack, once again, of course, for being on the show. As always, hope you have a great week, man. And everybody listening, enjoy Anaheim too, whether you're going to be at the track or whether you're watching from home on Peacock. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the next weekend of races, and the Stire Sound is fading out.